her question is, do I walk away from someone who brings all this charge up, or do I say, this is the very person with whom I can do my work? Have you answered your own question? See, the work is yours. This person may get in the way of your doing your work because of his own narcissism. So you need to find out, first of all, you have to ask, is this a person who's working on himself? That's your best way to know that you have a chance. If he's not working on himself at all, doesn't even believe in therapy, what chance have you got? Now, just one more thing on sex and spirituality, and I find this very interesting. The three main features of spirituality, St. Thomas says, spirituality is connectedness with the universe, and sex is about connectedness, so it can be spiritual. Sex is certainly about the letting go of ego, and that has to happen in healthy sex. Sensation is about the ego, whereas bonding is about the true self. And spirituality is about the letting go of the belief in separateness, that there is no separation, everything is united, and certainly good sex is about that. So that's why sex can have a spirituality too, which isn't our subject in this class, but I just wanted to mention that little point. So you could say, given all this, that there might even be three ways of relating to someone. You could relate as a healthy adult who wants bonding, or you could relate as the needy person who's looking for sensation or for fulfillment of needs that rightfully belong in the therapist's office. So the needy is either for the sensation or needy emotionally. So in need of, let's just say in need of sensation, you could meet somebody who's mostly in need of sensation. You could just wants a sexual relationship. Who's emotionally needy and who thinks that you can fulfill those needs, or if he's lonely, maybe he won't be lonely if he's with you, etc. Or you could meet somebody who's a true adult and wants to bond with you on that level, not based on neediness, but certainly on having legitimate needs that you cooperate in fulfilling. So the question, can I be happy in a relationship, might be answered by paying attention to all three of those. If I need a relationship, I probably won't be happy. If I choose a relationship for mutual support, I probably will be. Because happiness follows upon the release of my own lively energy, and relationship is secondary to that. It's only supportive of it as the earth supports my feet, but I have to do the walking. Everybody follow? I wrote a very short story so that we could understand these levels of relating. Would you like to hear it? Okay. It's called... Doesn't matter. It's called Walter's Wand. Wand, W-A-N-D. The three levels of relating are well illustrated in the life of Walter, age 40, a contractor happily married to Wanda, age 36, with whom he has 3 children. Wanda is everything Walter has ever wanted in a wife: sensible, solicitous, faithful, nurturant to the children, financially careful, immaculately clean. It's important. Undemanding in sex. And she even makes the stuffed cabbage exactly as his mother did. Now you're really set. The bond between Walter and Wanda is strong and permanent. Neither of them has or would ever think of divorce or separation. Their home life is tranquil and stable, notably free of alcoholism, abuse, gambling, debts, or even marital dispute. But, unbeknownst to Wanda, Walter has, for the past 2.5 years, carried on a torrid affair with Wilma, age 29, one of the secretaries at work. Late night muffled phone calls, afternoon assignations at motels 2 towns away, and surreptitious rendezvous on desolate beaches characterize their time together. The excitement of their liaison is fueled by a sexual abandon neither of them thought possible in this transitory world. They sweeten the treat of it all even more by the occasional addition of recreational drugs. Wilma sometimes complains and even rages about her subordinate role in Walter's life. Walter feels an agitating fear when she even threatens to reveal their secret. But he also strokes the flames of the cauldron with his own possessive and paranoid jealousy about her. The high drama of it all makes their every moment together adrenaline-rich. Walter has never felt such invigorating passion. It has made the number 40 a definite miscalculation of his years on this planet. Wilma knows that her presence in his life is a never-ending source of thrills, a fact brought home to her even more clearly last night when he recited a poem to her by Emily Dickinson that he heard in a class on relationships that he is taking with Wanda. Wild nights, were I with thee, wild nights would be our luxury. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to Wanda or Wilma, Walter has, since Army days, found himself mysteriously drawn every month or so, sometimes at shorter intervals, to the porno movie arcade, where he will stare with rapturous fascination at the images of the beautiful but slatternly women on the soiled screen, showing and doing their all for him. He masturbates compulsively during these furtive moments, always apprehensive that he might be recognized upon entering or exiting this palace of dim night. But Walter never has to feel anything fully. He is protected by a well-trained body. At the first sign of loneliness, dejection, or fear, his hormones come to his rescue. They produce an urgent inclination toward sex. Walter imagines this to be the true sexual desire, but it is actually a conditioned reflex in direct response to the scary stimulus of an unwanted feeling. His hormones conspire in the cover-up, an eruption of the pain, with a D&C, a distraction, and then a consolation. All Walter has to do is choose. He can writhe in the fiery embrace of Wilma or slink into the sleazy anonymity of the video booth. Walter has a magic wand that rises to any occasion. Walter's split-level house of relationships shows how deeply unintegrated his sexuality really is. But he still does not see it this way. He congratulates himself for still having this much libido to burn, a sign to him of his unaging manliness. Walter's Wanda fulfills his need for legitimacy. His Wilma fulfills his need for a sense of youthful virility. His porno princesses give him a quick fix. All three of these needs feel absolutely real and urgent. No matter how much Wanda offers, she cannot cancel his other needs. No matter how much Wilma offers, she cannot usurp his marriage commitment. Walter knows this and blames neither Wanda nor Wilma for any inadequacy. Deep down, he knows he has what he wants all the way around. When Walter attends family reunions or picnics, he feels lucky to have such a wonderful wife as Wanda. But he also feels guilty about his secret betrayals of her. When he falsely signs the register at the motel, he feels lucky to have such a passionate lover with him, but he feels ashamed nonetheless. When he enters the arcade and sees the lonely desperados that lurk and linger there, he feels lucky that he, at least, has a real relationship to go back to. Yet when he leaves, he feels self-disgust. But Walter swallows back the guilt and the shame and never thinks of himself as inauthentic because for him, okayness is a balancing act. As long as he can keep all three of his worlds separate and two of his women happy, he is in control. And since for him, control is all that mental health is about, he thinks he never needs help or has anything to work on. He can live on for years as he does today, untroubled in his 3-story house of cards. So, I hope that wasn't familiar to anybody. So some people have all three, or 2 out of the 3, or 1 out of the 3. Any questions? As long as a relationship is your primary requisite for happiness, I have to be in a relationship to be happy, then of course your chances for happiness are slimmer than those who have learned that the relationship is simply a container for me to cooperate in bonding and commitment, for me to find out what my work is, and for me to be happy. And that within this container, I feel so safe that I can even picture myself alone without distress. That's how you know it's real. Not, if I'm alone, I'll feel bad, so I have to be with you. If there's any have to, if there's any compulsion, that's the opposite of conviction. And so it can't be a true commitment. And when a relationship enlists and fosters your lively energy, then happiness becomes very possible. When you're looking for the fulfillment of your childhood needs through another person, you're saying, I don't want to do my own work. I don't want to take responsibility for my own issues in life. I want you to take care of all that for me. When a healthy person sees you, he's going to run the other way, because healthy people don't want to have to give that to a partner. They want to give that to their children. And they don't want to have children who have a father like that, if you see what I mean. And unhealthy people don't have it to give anyway, since they need it for themselves. Neediness means take care of me, be my base of security, give me all the attention I never got from my parents, all the acceptance, all the affection, all the freedom. I can't be myself unless I have someone else with me. Those would be the signs of someone who's needy. And a healthy person, seeing someone like that, will feel only pity and won't ever imagine that pity is the same as love. Pity leads you to say, here's my therapist's card. So next time you go to a party and during the enchanted evening, when across the crowded room you will see a stranger, whatever, how else does it go? Fly into their arms or whatever. Yes, go to that person and hand them a card. Here's my therapist. Work with him for 2 or 3 years and then call me. That would be the healthy way to handle it. I'm absolutely serious. Carry your therapist card with you when you go to parties. The one you feel most attracted to, give him the card. And the adult needs, of course, are mutuality, companionship, support, cooperation, moderate doses of attention, affection, acceptance, allowing, having things in common. These are the adult needs. The sex that's bonding, not the sex that's charging. Everybody follow? Okay, any questions on romance before we start conflict? And of course the romance should end when you start to see the conflicts happening. Then there should be like a little ritual of grieving, going into a state of mourning. Maybe wear black for a few weeks together. You don't already wear the black satin underwear, buy some. And isn't this sad, because the romance seems like it's coming to an end, and we both have to admit it. And this is perfectly normal, because romance is supposed to end, and it does end with conflict. And now our work, once conflict appears, the healthy work is very simple. It's to address, process, and resolve each conflict. And when you address, process, and resolve, you, in effect, handle the obstacles that come up. A series of handled obstacles, joined with trustworthiness, one of our adult needs. So a series of handled obstacles and a series of kept agreements equal commitment. So that's how to tell that the person is committed to you. In a conflict, when something arises that's difficult for both of you, some distress, you address, process, and resolve it, thereby handling that obstacle. When you have that plus a series of kept agreements, that's how you know you have a commitment. It's not based on the wedding ring or how good the sex is, or the fact that you live together, or the fact that you share money. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, do you handle obstacles together, and do you keep commitments? And these 2 lines from Coleridge's poem, Dejection Ode, which he wrote at the end of our affair that he was having, he's speaking about grief, I guess, but it kind of reminded me of conflict too. Startle this dull pain and make it move and live. And may this storm be but a mountain birth. Isn't that beautiful? Startle this dull pain and make it move and live. Get your lively energy happening through your conflict, and may this conflict, this storm, be but a mountain birth. Storm in the mountain makes everything come alive. So let's see if our relationship will be like that. Put these lines over your bed. Phase 2 is where the picture comes to an end and the reality takes its place. Now we don't have two egos meeting two ego ideals. We have two egos meeting two egos, each of which has a shadow. And you're starting to see the shadow and what it looks like. And not only are you seeing the see, to see is not only the shadow, S, but E, the ego, and the other E is early stuff, early business. So this is what you see in conflict. You see the shadow of the person, the ego of the person, and the early stuff that he never really dealt with. This is the longest phase, of course. And it often ends in divorce, unfortunately, because it's supposed to go on to the real commitment phase. What is the real commitment phase? The real commitment phase is that you've handled the obstacles of conflict, you've kept your agreements, now you're ready for the real commitment. And in this conflict, the important thing is that you stay with the energy as continually moving. That's why I like his lines here. Make it move and live. Don't get stuck in the conflict with the bickering about the same old stuff, the old resentments. That's how you know you haven't got a chance. Keep it moving, and you may have a chance. How do you know if you should stay in the relationship and keep working on it, or if it's time to go? Very simple. When the working on it no longer works, it's time to go. If the working on it works, stay. Because that's leading to commitment. A conflict is a struggle between limiting and opening, between capturing and releasing, between expanding and contracting. So you see how a conflict helps you wake up your own liveliness and your own ego so that it can become healthier rather than neurotic. And this quote by Wordsworth I thought was helpful. There is a comfort in the strength of love which will make a thing endurable which else would overset the brain or break the heart. Question? Do you know that working on it works is the question. You know that working on it works when three things happen. In the course of the work, which is to look at whatever your conflict is, you address it, process it, and come up with a resolution. That's how to tell that it works. In the conflict stage, of course, you start to act out the old unfinished business of your early life. And you train the other person to reenact your earliest childhood disappointments and betrayals, your earliest hurts and losses, and you show the other person by what you do to him or her what was done to you. And you move thereby from the romantic projection, now a thing of the past, to the mature self-assertion of you with all your stuff. And this is me with all my wounds. As the prophet Ezekiel says, look at how I was wounded in the house of those who loved me. That's what you're saying to your partner. Or as Sam Keen says, the purpose of marriage is to fall out of love and into reality. So now let's just do our very short exercise. This only takes about 30 seconds if you just simply close your eyes. And you're going to picture yourself in the very best relationship you can possibly imagine, full of adult joy that I've been describing. It could be the one you're in right now, or it could be a fantasy one, doesn't matter. Just picture yourself really happy with another person. Even if you don't know who this person is, make one up. Now you see yourself very healthy and very happy with someone that you really love and who really loves you. And standing nearby are both your parents looking at you. And just look at the expression on their faces and then open your eyes. Okay? And how many people saw on the face of one or both parents anything resembling dissatisfaction or judgment? Raise your hand. And now look around the room. Keep the hands way up. And look around the room, because you're going to see 80% of the hands going up, which is always the percentage when this test is given. And every person that had his hand up probably has some work to do. So when you write your ad for the Independent, put there, looking for someone who did not raise his hand. You see what we're up against? Because we have to have our parents okay, deep in our own psyche, since they were the original sources of mirroring. So even if, as adults, we've closed them off, ended the relationship, said to ourselves they don't matter, that's not how the human organism works. They matter very much, and always will. And so if there's something on their face of disgruntlement or not really accepting you, kind of judging you, that means they're not giving full permission and never did for you to be happy. It doesn't have to discourage you, it just shows you where your work is, and we all need to know that, don't we? So throughout this experience of conflict, there'll be grief, of course, and the day may come when an invisible line is crossed and conflict becomes abuse. And the healthy person has a very simple rule of thumb, which I propose. It's no more than 30 consecutive days of pain before I ask for a change by working on what's going on with addressing, processing, and resolving, which might be in therapy or might be in whatever way you choose to do it that works. 30 consecutive days of pain, and then I have to take action, either to work or to start planning a move. I can change it by an intervention through therapy or by a personal agreement that will then be kept by addressing, processing, resolving, and handling the obstacle. And just to say to yourself right now, within yourself, or to notice if you can't say it to yourself, never again in my life will I put up with 30 consecutive days of being unhappy, in pain, abused, untrusting, untrusted, without taking action. Can you say that? Because that will tell you if you're on the 30-day plan or the 17-year plan. Everybody follow? Okay, so just one final thing. That the anger during this phase can be healthy, and I will talk about healthy anger further down in the course. We will get to it. And it becomes toxic when it becomes bickering and it doesn't lead anywhere. Milton, the great English poet, was in a relationship like this, and here are 3 lines from the Paradise Lost that we'll probably recognize all too well. Thus they in mutual accusation spent the fruitless hours, but neither self-condemning, and of their vain contest appeared no end. It can happen like that, can it? Well, I would like to close with a poem again tonight. This one is by the Irish poet Thomas Moore. It's a sonnet. And it has to do with a romance and the changes that occur and the fact that love still goes on even with the changes. And he uses the beautiful metaphor of the sunflower, as you will see. Believe me, if all those endearing young charms which I gaze on so fondly today were to change by tomorrow and fleet in my arms like fairy gifts fading away, thou wouldst still be adored as this moment thou art. Let thy loveliness fade as it will, and around the dear ruin each wish of my heart would entwine itself verdantly still. It is not while beauty and wealth are thine own, and thy cheek unprofaned by a tear, that the fervor and faith of a heart may be known, to which time will but make thee more dear. For the heart that has truly loved never forgets, but as truly loves on to the close, as the sunflower turns to her God when he sets, the same look that she turned when he rose.